civil nuclear program as cover to build a secret, illegal, underground nuclear weapons program, and then it got caught. It got caught first in 2002 with an underground enrichment facility at Natanz and a secret plutonium reactor which it never told the IAEA anything about. And then it got caught again in 2009 with another secret enrichment facility built underneath a mountain at Thordau by Com. So really it is Iran that is both a threat to regional security and the non-proliferation regime. And I think it's extremely important that a country that broke the rules so flagrantly can't be allowed to get away with it.
Okay, let's bring a northern one now.
I think just
sorry, let's just bring a northern one. We've heard reservations from Israel there. Given Iran's history, why should we trust them? Why should we trust that they're going to stick to this deal over the next 6 months?
Well, the whole point of this deal is to stop Iran using its program to develop nuclear weapons. Iran has made substantial concessions here. It's going to shrink its program. It's going to not enrich above the 5% level. It's going to vastly reduce its stock of more highly enriched uranium, and it is going to submit itself to much more rigorous inspection, daily inspection, of two of the sites that have been most of concern to the West. If you look at the statement made by the White House, it actually meets one of Israel's concerns head on. It says the worry has been that in any agreement, Iran would buy time and go further with its nuclear program. This deal prevents Iran going any further. It has to shrink its program, and there's going to be this very intrusive inspection as well. I believe that this is in the interest of Israel, and not Mr. Greene. What on earth is his alternative? Is he wanting to bomb Iran? Is he wanting to continue with this tense situation? I think common sense absolutely indicates that this is the right thing to do.
Well, let's put that to two. Mr. Greene, what is the alternative? Many would argue that Iran is too important a country to simply lock in a cupboard, that they have to be dealt with head on.
No, there is absolutely no doubt that diplomatic solution is the best way to resolve this issue. And of course, this is just an interim deal. The real test will be in 6 months' time. I think that the concern here in Israel and among many other states here in the region, unfortunately, is that with this interim deal, Iran has got something for nothing, or at least for very little. All that Iran has been asked to do is push the pause button on its nuclear program. It's not really rolled back anything of any substance. In return, it's got significant sanctions relief. And I think that the concern is that the crack in the wall of sanctions has been breached.
Let's just bring a northern one there. That's a fair point, isn't it? Do you think the West hasn't asked for enough of Iran here, Lord Lamont?
No, Iran has made very large concessions, and the main sanctions are remaining in force, the ones that really hurt. Oil sanctions, banking sanctions, dealing with the central bank of Iran. They've made a few concessions that are worth, according to the White House, about $7 billion. But on the other side, Iran is going to be penalized to the tune of $30 billion by the continuing sanctions. So Iran hasn't gotten much out of this. It all depends, as Mr. Greene says, what happens in the interim stage. A final solution will be attempted, and it will be very difficult to get it after 6 months, when people have been able to see whether Iran has kept its word. I think Israel is doing itself enormous harm. I speak as someone who's been a supporter of Israel over the years. They really must get out of this attitude of just saying that the Iranian program must be dismantled completely. Even Mr. Barak, the former Prime Minister, said Iran is not an existential threat to Israel. And as you said at the beginning, Israel has nuclear weapons, according to President Carter, 200 warheads. Really, we ought to take a more sensible approach to this.
Toby Greene, there are, of course, hardliners in Iran, but there are also moderates, there are also pragmatists. Many would argue that we should give those people a chance, and isn't this the opportunity to do that?
Well, I think when we're talking about the internal Iranian political position, we should recall that leading moderates who stood for presidential office in 2009 in Iran are today under house arrest. But to respond to Lord Lamont's point, it's true there are a range of opinions here in Israel, and the question of whether Iran is an existential threat and whether that term is helpful is debated here. But nobody here thinks that Israel can tolerate Iran with a nuclear weapon, and that's for very good reason. As of today, Iran poses a very grave threat to the state of Israel and to other states in the region. And most Israelis have the experience of having been under fire fly around to Israel's non-state actors on Israel's borders, Hamas and Hezbollah. This is how Iran behaves today without a nuclear weapon, and we can only imagine how Iran might behave in the future with a nuclear weapon. A diplomatic solution is the best option, but the only way that we've got to this point is through a tough sanctions regime. The sanctions have worked. They've got Iran to want to negotiate and to reconsider its position. And what's, I think, extremely important over the next 6 months is that the P5+1 powers make sure that the sanctions regime, that it's very clear to Iran that if they don't come to reasonable terms, that the sanctions will not only be reimposed, but actually increased, because it's only through that pressure that Iran has even come to consider negotiating with the P5+1 states to begin with.
Okay, Mr.
Well,
we are out of time, but just very briefly, Alderman, 10 seconds, your response.
Well, I think the sanctions will be increased if Iran doesn't observe the deal. But the whole point of this deal, as President Obama has said today, is to stop Iran having a nuclear weapon. He does not want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I don't. Israel doesn't. But as you said at the beginning, you can't keep Iran locked in a cupboard. This is a big country, and it's bound to play a role in the region.
Okay, then we must leave it, I'm afraid. Lord Norman Lamont and Toby Greene, thank you both very much. And with Sky News for